In early October, an armed conflict broke out between Israel and Hamas. For the past week, Israel has been continuously bombing Hamas command centers and military facilities in the Gaza Strip. At the same time, the United States has taken action by dispatching 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East and sending the USS Wasp, an amphibious assault ship, with over 2,000 Marines to the Middle East theater. The first to arrive in the Middle East was the USS Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. From the picture, you can see that the USS Ford responded swiftly. Around 10 a.m. on October 7th, the USS Ford was located in the western Mediterranean, near the Balearic Islands of Spain. By October 8th, the USS Ford had already set a course eastward, in the direction of Sardinia, Italy. Just 2 days later, on October 10th, the USS Ford aircraft carrier had high-speed sailed into the Middle East region. In other words, in a little over 2 days, from October 8th to October 10th, the USS Ford covered nearly 1,500 miles. I did a quick calculation, and the USS Ford was traveling at a speed of 28 miles per hour, which is approximately 45 kilometers per hour. However, in naval terms, speed is usually measured in knots, and the USS Ford's average speed is 24 knots. This speed is quite fast. To put this in perspective, the distance from the U.S. Pacific Fleet's base in Hawaii to the waters around Taiwan's Okinawa Island is approximately 4,600 miles. At the USS Ford's speed, a U.S. aircraft carrier could reach the waters around Taiwan in just 6 days. The USS Ford has been deployed in the Mediterranean since May of last year, under the command of the U.S. European Command, with the primary purpose of deterring Russia. U.S. aircraft carriers typically have deployments overseas lasting about 6 months, so the USS Ford should have returned to the U.S. by the end of October. However, due to the sudden outbreak of the conflict in Israel in early October, the Department of Defense extended the USS Ford's deployment. Additionally, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, another aircraft carrier, was originally scheduled to arrive in the Mediterranean in November to replace the USS Ford. However, it has now set sail ahead of schedule, with a fleet consisting of a cruiser and 2 destroyers, heading to the Mediterranean. The USS Gerald Ford is currently the most advanced aircraft carrier in the U.S. fleet. In various ways, it surpasses the older Nimitz-class carriers. The Ford class features a new propulsion system, utilizing 2 new A-1B nuclear reactors, which require 50% fewer personnel but generate 3 times the electricity compared to the Nimitz class. This allows the USS Ford to support electromagnetic catapults, advanced arresting gear, and large phased array radars. Furthermore, this nuclear reactor can serve for 50 years without needing to replace nuclear fuel rods, making it the most advanced shipboard nuclear reactor in the world. In addition, the USS Ford is equipped with advanced electromagnetic catapult and advanced arresting gear systems. Most aircraft carriers worldwide either use steam catapults like the U.S. Nimitz class or have no catapults at all, relying on ski jump decks for aircraft takeoff, as seen with China's Liaoning and Russia's Admiral Kuznetsov carriers. After implementing advanced electromagnetic catapult technology, the USS Gerald Ford has significantly improved its operational capabilities in several aspects. Firstly, the new electromagnetic catapult system requires 35% fewer personnel and can launch heavier aircraft. It can also rapidly launch different aircraft types. As it doesn't consume fresh water or steam, the electromagnetic catapult greatly enhances the sortie efficiency of carrier-based aircraft. In comparison, the Nimitz-class carriers can achieve a maximum of 140 to 160 sorties per day, whereas the Ford-class carriers can reach 180 to 220 sorties per day. Additionally, the USS Ford uses an advanced electromagnetic aircraft arresting system. This computer-based system can analyze the real-time tension on the arresting cables and provide feedback to the motors, significantly improving the efficiency of aircraft recovery. The Ford-class carrier is equipped with dual-band phased array radars, including SPY-4 and SPY-3. SPY-3 is an X-band radar primarily responsible for low-altitude search and tracking, while SPY-4 focuses on long-range surveillance. Originally developed for the Zumwalt-class destroyers, Spy-4 is now installed on the Ford-class carriers. Most importantly, the Ford-class carriers are expected to carry the F-35C carrier-based aircraft in the future. Currently, the first squadron of F-35C aircraft is deployed on the USS Carl Vinson, which is now part of the Pacific Fleet. Its importance lies in its preparedness to respond to potential conflicts in the Western Pacific. Therefore, the USS Ford, which belongs to the Atlantic Fleet, has not been equipped with the F-35C yet, but it is expected to do so in the near future. In summary, the USS Gerald R. Ford, with its aircraft sortie efficiency, propulsion system, radar capabilities, and aircraft performance, represents the pinnacle of aircraft carriers in the world. Deploying the USS Ford to the Middle East demonstrates the United States' commitment to the region's security. On October 16, U.S. Department of Defense officials stated that the USS Bataan, an amphibious assault ship currently conducting operations near the Red Sea, is heading toward Israel. Both Hamas and Israel have ground stations in the area, and the presence of this ship is expected to provide the U.S. with flexibility to respond to any situation. The USS Bataan is carrying the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, totaling 2,400 troops. It is anticipated to arrive in Israel around October 21st, and they will join the USS Gerald R. Ford Strike Group, which is already deployed in the region. Israel has a significant population of American citizens, and these Marine troops can assist in evacuation if necessary and participate in combat if the situation deteriorates. Apart from the USS Bataan, another ship, the USS Carter Hall, an amphibious dock landing ship, also arrived in Israel from the Red Sea. These two ships will serve as hubs for transporting people from shore to ship. The 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit specializes in amphibious operations, crisis response, and humanitarian assistance missions. Since August, the USS Bataan and the 26th MEU have been operating in the Middle East. Originally, the deployment to the Middle East was intended to deter Iranian aggression in the surrounding waters. However, due to the recent armed conflict between Israel and Hamas, this unit departed early. The USS Bataan is the fifth ship of the Wasp-class amphibious assault ships. Last year, it was in the New York City area, and I even had the opportunity to visit it. The Wasp-class ships have flight decks that can handle the launch and recovery of armed helicopters, tilt-rotor aircraft like the Osprey, and other aircraft. Additionally, USS Bataan can accommodate numerous M1 main battle tanks, 25 light armored vehicles, and 68 military trucks, among other equipment. Inside its well deck, the USS Bataan can carry 3 air cushion landing craft, 12 amphibious assault boats, or 40 amphibious assault vehicles. U.S. amphibious assault ships, although part of the Navy, are traditionally used in conjunction with the Marine Corps. In fact, many of the aircraft crew members on these ships are also members of the Marine Corps. For example, the Marine Corps operates aircraft like the MV-22 Osprey, which can be deployed from amphibious assault ships. When I visited the USS Wasp, an amphibious assault ship, they not only showcased helicopters but also had Marine Corps personnel displaying light weaponry and armored vehicles. In the image, we can see that Hamas initiated an attack on Israel on the morning of October 7th. Just 2 days later, on October 9th, the USS Bataan, an amphibious assault ship, left Kuwait carrying Marine Corps troops. By October 11th, the ship had reached the area of the U.S. Fifth Fleet's headquarters in Bahrain. By October 16th, the fleet had arrived near the Red Sea in the Indian Ocean. This rapid response by the United States is quite evident. The conflict between Israel and Hamas began on October 7th, and within 2 days, the Marine Corps had assembled and was departing from Kuwait. The United States maintains a global force presence, which means it has naval, air, and ground forces positioned in various regions of the world at any given time. This allows the U.S. military to rapidly respond to crises. To illustrate, consider China's regional military commands, such as the Eastern, Western, Northern, and Southern Theater Commands. In contrast, the United States has several combatant commands covering specific geographic regions, including U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, U.S. Central Command, U.S. European Command, and more. The U.S. Central Command, for example, is responsible for the Middle East and Afghanistan. Recently, the commander of U.S. Central Command, General Kenneth McKenzie, arrived in Israel and met with the Israel Defense Forces Chief of Staff and Defense Minister. In the context of the Middle East, the United States maintains two major fleets, the U.S. Sixth Fleet, headquartered in Naples, Italy, which deploys a carrier strike group year-round. The USS Gerald of Ford, the latest aircraft carrier, is currently part of the Sixth Fleet. This marks its first long-term overseas deployment. Additionally, the U.S. has the U.S. Fifth Fleet, with its headquarters in Manama, Bahrain. The recent response to the Israel-Palestine conflict saw the rapid deployment of two aircraft carriers, an amphibious assault ship, two dock landing ships, and several cruisers, destroyers, and nuclear submarines, forming a significant naval task force. This illustrates two key facts. First, the United States possesses a unique and rapid global response capability. For instance, when the conflict began on October 7th, the USS Ford was already in the Mediterranean, and within a few days, it was close to Israel. Not only the carriers but also the Marine Corps had prepared, departing directly from Kuwait to Israel. Second, the U.S. has the strength to simultaneously address two major conflicts. Recently, the United States provided Ukraine with an additional $2 billion in military aid. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stated in Brussels during an international conference that the U.S. can provide military support to both Ukraine and Israel simultaneously. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also indicated that the United States could afford to wage two wars at the same time. On October 12th, a bipartisan committee in the U.S. Congress, after conducting a study, suggested that the U.S. must expand its conventional forces, strengthen alliances, and prepare for potential simultaneous conflicts with Russia and China. Currently, the U.S. military has not directly engaged in either the Ukraine or Israel conflicts, instead providing economic and military support from behind the scenes. Whether in the Ukraine or Israel, the U.S. military has not directly entered the conflicts. The military deployments in the European region do not impact the Asia-Pacific region. The USS Ford and USS Eisenhower, for instance, are originally part of the Atlantic Fleet. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier and USS America-class amphibious assault ships remain deployed in Japan, and the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier operates in the Eastern Pacific. This showcases the strength of the U.S. military, capable of rapidly deploying forces worldwide and simultaneously addressing multiple conflicts.